Hi everyone, it's Alessio. We're joined here today. I'm actually very honored to be joined here by Benjamin Cowen of the YouTube channel Benjamin Cowen and also the website Into the Cryptoverse. And what I want to talk about with Benjamin here is XRP, and specifically, what's the worst case scenario for XRP? I've already mentioned in the previous video what the bullish potential could be, but what if that's wrong? What if I'm wrong about the bullish potential? And I'm going to talk with Benjamin about this, about the worst case scenario on XRP if everything goes pear-shaped, if everything goes wrong. Join us. All right, guys, welcome back. Now, as I was saying at the introduction to this video, I've already put out a video on XRP, which you probably saw recently, and I'm going to be talking with Benjamin here. By the way, Benjamin, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great as
you are.
always.
Yeah, fantastic. So we were talking earlier. You're in North Carolina. How are things in North Carolina for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty cold and snowy here recently, but other than that, things are good.
It's getting slightly warmer in London here. Not warm. I don't want to. I don't want to say it's warm, but it's better than it was, let's say, in January, which was absolutely dreadful. So in a previous video, I've talked about XRP. Before I come to Benjamin about his views on XRP, let me just briefly summarize what I said in the previous video. And you can see it probably in this chart. By the way, I use, as I'm sure you know, I use the Elliott wave model, and I use it in a specific way. But before I continue, let me say that apart from Elliott wave theory, I also apply something called Bayesian probability. And for those of you who are not familiar with Bayesian probability, all that simply means is that we need to update our beliefs and expectations, and that means analysis, with new and additional information. So people often say, well, why are you changing your mind? Because some people said, for example, to me, well, you said 6 months ago that this was an important level on XRP. This was a key level. But how come you're not saying that now? Well, because that was 6 months ago. I can't use data from 6 months ago. That's a bit like saying, imagine you want to know what the weather is tomorrow, and you use the weather forecast from 2 weeks ago, because it's ridiculous, right? If you want to have a reliable information about the weather for tomorrow, you're going to use the most up-to-date information, because the weather is a chaotic system, just like the markets, just like Bitcoin and XRP. All markets are chaotic, which means they are nonlinear, they're unpredictable, and they're sensitive to initial conditions. So Bayesian probability tells us that we need to constantly experiment, and we need to also incorporate new information into our analysis and update or revise our analysis with new information. Okay, so if the markets tell us, if price or the chart is telling us that we're wrong, the only rational thing to do, in my view, is to change our mind and say, no, that was wrong, and that carries a low probability, and this now has a higher probability. Because remember, the markets are unpredictable. The markets are nonlinear. So when I explained to you in my previous video, this is my higher probability model. This is my higher probability expectation here for XRP, which is the 5-wave move up in the larger wave 5. So that's the wave counts in white. So saying that wave 3 potentially topped in 2018, and that we had a wave 4 correction, and now once the wave 4 correction ended, we're now in a 5-wave move shown in yellow for the larger wave 5, taking us to approximately $8 by next year, probably by the end of next year. Now, again, could this be wrong? Absolutely, it could be wrong. I personally don't think it's wrong, though. I think as long as XRP does two things, as I mentioned in the previous video, as long as XRP does two things: one, as long as it stays above 0.43, 0.48 support, number one, and then as long as, number two, it goes above 0.8, very important, okay, because people often forget that point. So it needs to do two things. Ripple has to do two things to show to me that it wants to go higher in that 5-wave move. So stay above 0.43, 0.48 support, and then move above, and ideally close above 0.8. If those two things happen, then it can increase the probability of this wave count towards, again, towards the $8 mark. Well, $4 probably maybe by the end of this year, and then maybe $8 next year. That's the way I'm seeing it. Now, what if that's wrong? Okay, what if XRP falls below that support, below 0.43? Because that might happen. Anything is possible, right? So even though I don't think that potentially is going to happen, I personally think that carries a low probability. We need to talk about it. Before I do that, though, I do want to talk about with Benjamin about, first of all, Benjamin, do you own XRP? I mean, is this something you even have dabbled with? Or, I mean, I'm thinking you're not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm taking you do have some altcoins. Do you look at XRP? Do you even own XRP, or are you planning to own it in the future? I'm not sure because I don't think I've ever asked that question.
Yeah, I held some in 2017, and then I sold some of it. I did not hit the peak. I'll just be honest. Um, uh, but I did sell, and then I actually the first time I bought it back recently was actually it was actually the worst timing. I bought it. I
Hmm.
bought it at like 50 cents, and then but then it then dropped, and then I bought more to get my cost basis down to 36 cents. So my cost basis on it is 36 cents for this cycle. Last cycle it was a lot lower, but this cycle that's where it is. And so I do have some, but the last time I bought it was the end of 2020. So, and I haven't really looked at a whole lot since then, mainly because it hasn't it hasn't performed as well. Like, it hasn't really done a whole lot compared to a lot of other cryptocurrencies. I do have some, but it's a much smaller stack than
Yeah,
some of the other altcoins that I hold.
yeah. I think the same with me. I've met people who have predominantly only XRP. I think I told this story to everyone when I went to Florida this Christmas. At the immigration desk, the guy who was checking the passports, we were having a conversation for like 10 minutes, and there are people waiting to be coming into America. They're waiting people, and he was telling me that basically the majority of his holdings was in XRP. But let me just okay, let's talk about the technicals then. Let's stick to technicals. Let's talk about the second chart on my. So I want to show everyone this chart here, because if the bullish count does not hold, if XRP were to fall below those red lines on my chart, that's the 0.48, 0.43, and it's a possibility we have to consider. It's a risk we have to consider. As I mentioned in the previous video, if XRP falls below 0.43, then I have no choice but to move into this particular wave count, which means that in this wave count, even though it carries for me a lower probability, I don't think necessarily we're going to go into this, but again, there is a risk, it might happen. In this particular wave count, the red count, notice that wave 3 topped potentially back again. So we have wave 3 again, similar as before, topped in 2018. But in this wave count, we're still in a wave 4 correction. That means the rally we saw from 2020 all the way to 2021 was probably a B wave bounce, okay? So A wave down, that's a major A wave down, as you can see in the white letters, and then a B wave bounce, and that means if we break below 0.43, 0.48, if that structure breaks, then very likely then risk increases towards those orange lines, the support for a wave C, the wave C of 4. That's a smaller degree wave C of a larger degree wave 4 correction at the 0.095 to 0.068 level. And assuming it holds a floor there, let's say it moves in that level, then let's say it holds that level and bounces strongly from that level, then that could mean the wave 4 is complete, and we could be beginning, we could potentially then start the wave 5 higher towards the $8 mark, perhaps, well, in the next several years. By the way, one of the reasons why I don't like this particular wave model, this particular wave count, so one reason I don't like this wave count is it assumes that the year, well, I don't know when even we might reach that wave 4 if we even go down that low. Let's just assume we do. Let's assume we go into that C wave of 4 orange section on my chart. Let's assume we go there. This assumes that there's going to be a bullish period from 2024 to 2028, 2027. And I just don't think it's likely, because I think we're entering a major recession, depressionary period. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I don't think I am. But I think very likely we're facing a very tough economic period in the next few years, especially from 2023, 2024, all the way for the next several years. Then on, it's going to be a very tough economic period, and a major recession or depression could not only impact negatively Bitcoin and the stock markets, but also XRP and altcoins as well. So I just don't think it's likely that this is going to play out. But again, it's a probability. It's, I would say, even a possibility. I'm not saying it cannot ever happen, but it's something I'm putting out there in case XRP breaks that level, that low. Now I'll come to Benjamin in a few minutes about this particular potential. We'll get his view on this. But just remember that if XRP breaks that support low, then it's probable that XRP may move in a C wave towards those levels, 0.095 to 0.068 for a larger ABC wave of a larger ABC of 4. Okay. Now, whether we'll bottom there or not at those levels, we'll see. Now, there is a third probability. There's a third probability to talk about. This is the ultra bearish scenario. In case you're wondering, you're probably thinking, well, surely the ultra bearish scenario is XRP going to 0. Now, okay, look, that's something I'm not going to talk about. So that's a catastrophe, if you want to call it that. But let me talk to you about the most bearish wave count. The most bearish wave count is the magenta count, the one you see here. And Benjamin, you can probably see it too. And that is that in 2018, XRP completed all 5 waves, all the larger 5 waves of a bigger wave 1. Wave 1 is shown to you in brown. So in this wave count, which again, let me repeat, I think this carries a low probability for me. My higher probability still is the bullish count. But if XRP breaks the support at 0.43, then I have no choice but to also consider this too. Even though it may carry a lower probability, I have to consider this situation, this possibility, which is that probably all 5 waves in the magenta count completed back in 2018 for a big wave 1, and that we've completed a bigger A and B in a larger wave 2. A larger wave 2 shown to us in the brown number right there. So the bottom line is I want to talk about in this video is that in this wave count, the ultra bearish wave count, once you complete the magenta count, once you complete the 5 wave back in 2018, then essentially we've been in a long-term bear market, a long-term multi-year, multi-month, multi-year bear market in a wave 2, the C wave of wave 2, taking us all the way down to 0.04 to 0.014. I mean, by the way, those levels that you're seeing there is based on a 61.8% golden ratio level. That's the first level for the C wave. And the one below that at 0.014, that's a 78.6% Fibonacci level for XRP. I mean, that this is a really bearish view that we may go into a massive bear market all the way to 2025, 2026 potentially even, in this larger wave 2, the larger bear market of a C wave, a larger C wave in blue shown to us. Let me tell you why I don't like this wave count, because it assumes that wave 4 completed in a very short period of time, that magenta wave 4. I just don't think it makes sense. I mean, it's possible, sure, it's possible, but I don't think it's likely that wave 4 completed in such a short period of time, and then it just went up, completed wave 5, and that's it, it's over. And now we're going into a bear market. For me, still, I think the higher probability wave count, as long as XRP remains above 0.43, 43 cents, or 0.48, and as long as it can move above 0.8, 80 cents, I still think this bullish count carries from a higher probability towards the higher levels of $4 to potentially $8 by next year. Okay, let's go on to Benjamin now. Benjamin, what do you think about that? So where do you see points of agreement, or where do you see points of disagreement here? What is your view?
Yeah, I mean, looking at all the scenarios, the one that I think you said is the lowest probability is I would also agree is probably the lowest probability. I mean, again, like I don't own a lot of XRP, so I feel like I can try to provide a fairly unbiased view. I do have some because I recognize how explosive it can be.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it before and it did quite well. So I would agree with you that the going to 1 cent or 4 cents is probably the lowest probability path for XRP. When you think about the idea, when you mentioned like an $8 XRP, I try to think to myself, okay, well, based on the models that I use, does that make sense? And I think it does if you consider a couple different things. So the first thing to consider is the XRP Bitcoin valuation. So not what is its valued against US dollar, what is the actual value against Bitcoin. And the way I manage the way I've historically managed XRP is whenever the valuation against Bitcoin goes to 10 to the minus 5, I buy some. Whenever it goes to 10 to the minus 4, I sell it. And it's done that a number of times over the years. Now, the last time it went to 10 to the minus 5 when I bought was back at the end of 2020. And the only other time it was at 10 to the minus 4, or the most recent time, was back at the prior peaks that we, when it had that crazy rally up to several dollars many years ago. So to think about like an $8 XRP, I think, okay, well, the XRP Bitcoin valuation right now, in order to get to 10 to the minus 4 would actually require XRP USD, the XRP USD valuation to go up by approximately 500%. With a constant Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin would have to stay constant. So 500% move is a 6x. Current price of XRP is what, 60 cents? So a 6x gets you what, $3.60 or so. But that's according to a flat Bitcoin, right? A Bitcoin that hasn't moved. If Bitcoin doubles or something and XRP goes to that valuation, then you get to the $7 or $8 range, right? So like if so I think when I think about, okay, well, what is XRP going to do? It really does, in my opinion, depend on the health of the entire cryptocurrency asset class. Like it's hard for me to imagine XRP going to $8 if Bitcoin's crashed into 15K. You know, like it just seems like that's unlikely to correspond. But imagine a world where late this year Bitcoin is showing a lot more strength, and imagine in 2023 it's doing relatively well. And let's say Bitcoin does get some parabolic rally that takes it to 150K or something, and then it pulls back to like 80K, and then XRP goes on a nice parabolic run or something, if it hasn't already, then you could see how an $8 to $10 XRP could make sense in that environment. But you have to have, I mean, obviously you have to have the right risk on environment for the entire, you know, for everything. You have to have, certainly you'd like to have the Fed playing ball like normal. But also you'd want a healthy Bitcoin, right? A healthy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then you could see that play out. So I agree that the bearish, the most least probable case is the 1 cent one. It's hard to imagine that happening, but I could certainly see the higher prices coming. But it's ultimately, for me, it's ultimately just dependent on if Bitcoin can resume a sense of bullishness, because one of the things with XRP is that it hasn't yet put in I don't believe it hasn't even taken out its 2018 all-time high yet. So theoretically, if things work out in the best way for XRP, you could argue that it's one of the more undervalued ones from some perspectives, because it hasn't really gone on a crazy rally. But ultimately, a parabolic rally will be dependent on Bitcoin being healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that point. And we've discussed Bitcoin in a separate video, which we'll talk about, which you probably will see. And I agree. I think that it would be inconceivable to me that XRP is going to go, let's say, if it goes to $8 and Bitcoin doesn't make all-time highs. I think that doesn't make any sense. So if we say that, if we agree that Bitcoin could potentially make all-time highs by the end of this year, or at least going into beginning of next year, but I think even by the end of this year is possible and probable. Again, we'll cover that in a separate video. Then it's that bullish potential that then I think the probabilities would increase for XRP to also move towards its all-time highs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the asset class is heading to 10. Hopefully, my hope is that it's heading to 10 trillion over the next couple of years. So it's currently what, like just below 2 trillion. So the entire asset class, hopefully another 5x or so. At which point, if that, it's funny because you mentioned a recession earlier. It's interesting because if it does play out like that, and we do this kind of like really extended move by Bitcoin over the span of many years, and it does get to these crazy valuations, you could see a long bear market after that, especially if it corresponds to a recession. So I agree. I mean, I think that XRP does have a lot of potential. I don't talk about it a lot, but I do hold it, and we also do know that one of the things I've noticed before, just from a pure technical perspective, is that when it does move, like it doesn't often make those moves, but whenever it does, they happen like in a few weeks. Like they don't last like 6 months. They don't last 2 years. Those crazy impulsive moves by XRP against Bitcoin tend to happen in just like 3 or 4 weeks or something, and then it's over.
All right, thanks very much, Benjamin. Really appreciate it, guys. Please do check out Benjamin Cowen's YouTube channel, which I'll put the link for in the description, and please do subscribe to his video, his channel, and also watch his videos as well. Benjamin, thank you so much indeed. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to speaking to you again in another video. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for having me.